Hello everybody, welcome back to the KCM Season 2 of 2025. This is the finals, Zerg versus Terran. We've got our lineups. We've got our first two players. Action versus Royal going to be kicking us off here. Sharp, Sock, Speed, Royal, Hero, Action, Jaden, Sulky, the full lineup. Looking heavily Zerg favored here. We've got a very imbalanced match today. Terran heavily the underdogs here. 87% of people in the KCM crowd thought that Zerg's going to take this one away, but let's see what happens here today, Shun. Can Terran make a big upset? Can Sharp go on another tear like he did in the semifinals?
Yeah, there is a revive available, but these are essentially best-of-1 formats. Anything can happen. We've seen Sulky get eliminated by very inferior players. It could happen here today, although I wish someone like Sark was replaced by the likes of Light or Rush or what have you. It is what it is, though. We're going to just make do with what we got. Action and Royal, both from the same university team, very familiar with one another. And we might be having a very standard, straightforward ZVT to kick things off. And yeah, cross-map on Radiant, longest rush distances as well. 38-second rush distance with worker speed, ramp to ramp. Action likes to play a little bit greedy in that mid-game as well sometimes. So see how much juice he wants to squeeze out of the orange today. Whether or not Royal might want to be greedy himself. I mean, it could be a CC first, for example, and it might be a CC first. He's not making a barracks.
Going for a CC first, taking a bit of that risk. But it looks like it's going to pay off for him here. Royal needs to get a win over Action. I cannot see Terran taking the finals here, taking a win if Royal isn't able to do something big against Action. Get the ball rolling here for the Terran squad early.
Yeah, an Action. He's doing a safe cross-map scout, but only checking the center for a very forward 8 racks or a BBS. Doesn't scout either of those. Now checking the top right, which means he has no reaction time to annoy Royal here. If he sent this drone straight across the map to the wall in, for example, he could have, like, you know, forced an extra SCV to be attended with bodyguarding the SCV that's building the barracks and what have you, and kind of slow down the optimization and the scouting of Royal as a result. This is kind of like almost worst case scenario here for Action. So a glimmer of hope for the Terran squad right off the bat.
Alright, that drone arriving, he really wants to get some harassment going, but the SCV already there has been pulled a little early. And that barracks gonna finish up without any further problems. Second racks on that high ground already. Royal off to a great start. Very difficult to play against CC first as a Zerg player. You're just stuck behind. There's nothing particular that you can do to take advantage of the Terran player. It's not like, for example, Terran versus Protoss. If they get a Nexus first, maybe you can go for like a mine expand, get a third up really quickly, something like that, or go for some sort of bust. You know, a very quick 4-factor, 3-factor, whatever. Excuse me, guys. I'm feeling a little bit out of it today. I've got only about 4 hours of sleep. I'm pretty jet lagged back here in Canada now, so excuse me if I'm mincing my words here a little bit during this cast. I'm gonna have Shun help me out a lot today.
You'll be alright, buddy. Don't worry about it. I'm sure you'll wake up a little bit as long as these games are as exciting as I think they might be. I mean, this is nothing too crazy out of Action. Like you say, kind of have to play from behind a lot of the cases. when you're a Zerg in these situations. There's not a lot of counterplay, especially the wall in. Like, hypothetically, if there was no wall in the natural and he skipped making a bunker to be even greedier, then obviously you could have gone for something like a link flood or what have you. In these kind of situations in the modern era where they're taking these wall ins in the natural, there's not really a lot of counterplay unless the Terran gets caught with his pants down or is just sleeping at the wheel. There's not a lot available to you as Zerg, especially without taking big gambles for that to pay off in the first place. So Action probably will just sit back and macro as much as he can. This is going to be a 4-ax out of Royal, so he really wants to establish map control and put the pressure on. 4-ax tends to signify a lot of aggression out of Terrans, and as long as you make the factory by about the 7-minute mark, you can be pretty much as aggressive as you want to be.
Ooh, this is looking really rough for Action now. You can see he built a sunken colony here, expecting a 2-rax timing push to come out of Royal, but in fact an eBay went down. He's going to get into a very quick 4-rax +1. So much power behind this play with the CC first. He's going to have a very quick factory as well as this 4-rax production. Action. Looks like he's sending out a drone. Gonna take his third. I think it has to be Hydralisk Defiler from here. Although
it's Crazy Zerg, I think, actually.
Evolution Chambers is kind of wild. Is he really gonna go Crazy Zerg from this spot?
I think he has to. I don't think he necessarily has to, but I think it makes sense because he understands that he's probably lost the mid game, and he kind of just has to, you know, slow Royal down and hope for the best. If he's going to win this game, it's going to happen probably in the late game. I think Action has identified, and surviving those mid game transitions with orthodox play might not be so hot against Royal, who's probably looking to be hyper aggressive. So this might work out for Action. I mean, he doesn't need to do a lot of damage with these Mutalisks. He's just going in and now, killing about 3 or so thus far. Ideally, you want to kill about 5 or 6 to be comfortable doing a Crazy Zerg transition like this, or just any kind of transition. He's kind of got that damage done, but the problem is, how does he stop this push now? It's so many more bio units than usual. Doing some pretty good micro to begin with, but hasn't got any way of defending this natural third. He has to do a lot of heavy lifting with these Mutalisks.
Yeah, it's going to be a long time before that creep is spreading at the third base and he can start to throw down mass sunken colonies to attempt to defend that. And so Royal just going to keep putting on the pressure here. He's sending off one single Marine towards the top right. Wants to get a free scout. Make sure that there's no hatchery up there in the top right. Royal for now just threatening here out on the map, but he's going to get another reinforcement wave. And the larger this Bioforce grows, the scarier things become here for Action. Once this Bioforce has +1/+1 and there's about 2 to 3 groups of Marines in there, it's almost impossible to stop with pure mutiling.
Yeah, that's the idea. He's just reinforced that bull. Now will be applying a lot of pressure to Action, but he's got that third gas finishing up. You will start to mine from that now, adding on to the amount of Mutalisks he can produce. He's just non-stop pumping Mutalisks and Zerglings on his main hatcheries and natural, and going to be squeezing out a couple of drones when he can at this third base, get that gas saturated, try and fire on all cylinders to hold the line against this bio ball. And he's hoping that the Mutaling can do enough heavy lifting that he can just switch straight into those Ultralisks and try and get an upgrade advantage over Royal with that slightly earlier Evo timing. And this is the most dangerous position for Action. He has to survive quite a few minutes now with pretty much just Mutaling doing all of the work. So the subtle things of like just how he moves around with the Mutalisks and when he decides to go in with the Ling Stab to help support those is so crucial. He can't make any mistakes.
Walking a very fine line here, but Royal playing rather defensive. Gonna send some Marines up there into the main, make sure that the Mutas can't get through here and slow down this transition at all. Starport's just finishing up, so he will have that science facility here pretty soon. And with that, gonna be able to get that +2 going. Oh, losing a couple of meters here, but does manage to crack open the position, getting rid of both of those turrets. Getting a few extra SCV kills here as well. This is very good stuff from Action, who's putting on pressure when he really doesn't have any right to.
Well, I mean, sometimes the best form of attack is, best form of defense is attack setting. We've talked about it a lot, and I think it definitely applies in Starcraft. I mean, just look how many bio units are back here. If only Royal was able to leverage these across the map, but he's worried about that potent micro from Action, spelling disaster while he's trying to cross this rather long rush distance across the map all the way to Action's base. It does take a long time to get there, even with bio units. So he's pretty much very defensively focused at the moment, and I mean, it does very favor Action. I mean, he's clearing up a lot of these bio units, forcing more and more damage done indirectly here to Royal. He's investing so much attention into holding this natural, and I guess he's hoping that he'll have such a big bio blob that it doesn't even matter when the Ultralisks start coming out. He'll have plenty to start gunning them down with target buyers and medics in the wall at the front of those bio units, blocking and preventing surface area to those Kaiser blades making connections. But I'm not sure if that's going to be good enough. I mean, Action is one of the most aggressive macro Zergs we have. He is also one of the best Defiler users, but he's going to be circumnavigating, utilizing Defilers for the most part, unless this goes super late game. Needs to be careful though. Radiate just now coming online. There's the first Irradiate. Needs to split that Mutalisk out. Not quite doing such a good job of that, taking a lot of bruising.
Ooh, that was a lot of damage on the Mutas, and we're gonna see this timing come out now. Royal should be heading out on the map in a moment. I can't believe he's still getting damage with these Mutas, and Royal still sitting back here in his natural, just trying to fight back the Mutas. It's crazy how much Action's been able to do here. I really feel like Royal missed an opportunity to just go out on the map and threaten the third base, force the Mutas into a fight, rather than sitting here over his own natural and just fighting against these Mutas on the high ground. It's a losing battle, and he's just spending so much time trying to get rid of this, man. I'm kind of shocked that Royal's being goaded into this type of play. Oh my gosh, is he gonna get the vessel?
Oh no. Oh! One more connection. He doesn't quite get it, just barely saving that vessel. That's insane. That was so close. I think these guys have played against each other in practice so many times that Royal may be thinking one of the only ways I can beat Action's crazy Zerg is just by pooling units like this and then attacking at like a 12-minute 30 timing with 2-1 attack upgrades and going for a massive bust. That's a pretty juicy Irradiate. Hasn't necessarily killed the whole clump, but those are dangerously low on HP now. They would not be providing too much more additional value to the Zerg player, and Royal might be looking for that 12-30, 13-minute timing where he tries to come out on the map with just an absolute monster of a bio ball. I don't know if it's going to be enough. We already have +2 Carapace upgrades finished up for Action. He's got a 4th gas that's just come online as well. Royal's kind of on the clock right now, and that's already quite a lot of Ultralisks that Action's been able to start fielding. Action's just an absolute macro monster, man. It's insane. This was against a 14 CC, let me remind you.
Royal's gonna move out now with this big bio force. He's got quite a few vessels. Doesn't quite have energy for D-Matrix. Here comes the Ultras. Can he pull everything together close enough? Tighten the ranks here and try to break through all of these Ultras. It's not looking good. The Ultras right in on top of everything, smashing through this bio. Oh my goodness, this is a complete massacre.
This is insane. I mean, Terran players, avert your gaze. That was just, it was like the most golden ambush you've ever seen in your life. Action has played this to perfection. He knew that Royal was going for like a 13-minute massive push timing with 2-1 attack upgrades, hoping to seal the deal. Maybe he's won a few games against Action in those practice games doing a strategy like that, but Action has got the necessary adjustments and variations to deal with anything that's coming his way, and the Mutalisk control was out of this world leading up to this. Now starting to close that noose around the throat of Royal and start to squeeze him out of this game. Already 30 or so supply ahead. Now squeezing out a few drones here and there. Going to start saturating that fourth base as well. He's been mining away on all four gases for a little bit of time now. That's 1,200 gas a minute. At 6 ultras every minute he's able to produce. It's absolute insanity.
I can't remember the last time I've seen a game of TVZ where the Zerg player went crazy Zerg and made 1 sunken colonization. How is this even possible? I mean, this has to be Royal's fault. Right? Yeah, this is Royal's fault for sure.
It is. Yeah, he just let those Mutalisks bully him a little bit too much. I mean, usually when you're going crazy Zerg, you're forced to sunken up like 2 locations with at least 4 sunkens each, sometimes as many as 6 or 8. Or what have you. So yeah, it's not uncommon for the Zerg to make anywhere from like 10 to 16 sunkens when they're going for crazy Zerg, and that's why action has been so potent in this game. Overlord even spotting that dropship making its way downtown to the northeast quadrant. It might be able to shut down this drone that's trying to expand. Actually, action gonna he's got a fan of Scourge, just trying to hunt that down. Action's kind of playing out of his mind. Oh, he's gonna catch the vessels as well, saying, I mean, this is not going well for Royal.
Royal losing those very important units. Vessels going down. The last kind of hope for him is that he puts together one massive bio wall with a bunch of D-Matrix, is able to break through somewhere, but the hopes have dwindled kind of beyond repair here. He's going to lose this dropship. Here comes that push. This is just not enough Marines, guys. 5 armor, and there's only +2 attack. He is so dead. He is beyond dead right now.
Oh, he's so dead. He's so dead. He's got like at least like 30 seconds or maybe more until that +3 weapons upgrade is done. Yeah, there's not much hope here for Royal, unfortunately. This is the attack window that actually look at how many Ultralisks there are. Unless you irradiate them on the other side of the map, that's just going to make them into double-edged swords that are going to help the Zerg forces cleave through them even better. Just like Royal trying to seize the high ground to bottleneck and funnel those Ultralisks from finding optimal surface area. So the irradiate actually will do its job in making those Ultralisks as brittle as possible later on. But I mean, that's not going to deter action. He's double expanding. He's continuing to grow behind this. Eventually, he will make a Defiler mound and start to get even more value going his way with Plagues and Dark Swarm to buffer and provide utility to this force as well. Right now, he just wants to do some heavy lifting with these Ultralisks, trying to get a good surround onto those Bio Forces with those Kaiser Blades just ripping through that Terran meat. And unfortunately, I think that's going to be all she wrote for Royal in this game number 1. There is just no way of coming back from this as Terran. It's really brutal, so well executed by action, but this is also the fault of Royal, letting him get away with only making a single sunken. He went for this 14cc play and thought he could get away with just sitting back and macroing, but not against the monster that is action.
There he is. Royal taps out. GG. Game number 1. Going over to Zerg action. Grabbing that for his squad. Alright, it's not looking good. First game already going to the Zerg. Royal's been eliminated. Surprising to see Royal falter so far. I mean, we know that Royal has been, on and off over the past couple of years. Sometimes he looks fantastic. Other times he looks just completely outclassed by some of these other players, and we're in that outclassed stage today.
Yeah,
just not looking good against action at all, kind of allowing him to get away with murder and looking extremely just didn't really seem like he knew what was going on there. Just going for a CC first and then not having any pressure on the map at all, not being able to push. against the opener that Action went for. He really should have had a massive advantage there. I'm kind of blown away.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the only thing I can assume is that his practice games against Action have been very poor lately, and he just doesn't have his mojo. And he wanted to kind of throw all of his eggs into the 12-minute 30 attack timing basket and try and bowl the crazy Zerg over with 2-1 attack timing. But that only works if you apply pressure and force a lot of sunkens out of the Zerg initially, or at least limit their ability to secure more gases and what have you early on. Don't just allow the Zerg to kind of do what they want and apply their own pressure with the Mutalisks. And even though that was Royal's bad, also Action played that exceptionally well. The Mutalisk micro was so exceptional, and the way he controlled the pace of the game with such few units and kind of putting the fear of God into Royal was pretty impressive. He's going to be going up against Sharp now. I'm not sure if he'll have the same kind of luck against someone like Sharp. Seems like it's going to be a much more traditional opening from this Terran at least. I'll have to see how good Sharp was showing up today. Sometimes Sharp shows us really high caliber stuff. He's certainly a little bit more consistent than Royal has been as of late.
Yeah, for sure. Sharp has been absolutely killing it lately. His all kill in the semifinals was awe-inspiring. We'll see if he can pull off something similar here. He needs to do a lot of heavy lifting for his squad. Action has gone for something like a 12 hatch, 12 pool, 12 gas. Might have been 11 pool, not exactly sure, but he definitely delayed that gas pretty heavily. And so he's going to get this third hatchery out very soon. 2.5 hatchery from him. He's going to have a lot of production. He's going to be able to stand toe-to-toe with Sharp, who's likely going to open with eBay. I've seen Sharp play a lot recently. He really likes to go for this early eBay play.
Yeah, and Action made that layer at 302, which means he's optimizing lava. Means there's a little trick with Zerg where, if you time your layer just as a lava pops out, a lava automatically is deployed the moment layer finishes, so it's almost like squeezing out a lava for free, and you can optimize your drone count that way. Obviously slowing down your tech timing by a few precious seconds, but if you don't plan on playing hyper aggressive and you want to throw down this macro hatchery anyway, it's a great way of optimizing your economy as Zerg. And Action definitely on the macro end of the spectrum. He is very aggressive while playing macro, but he's also not too shy from being a little bit greedy and, like, say, only making the bare minimal Mutalisks and squeezing out drones that a lot of Zergs wouldn't usually. Hero likes to do that as well. Action's certainly capable of that. He does know that Sharp usually likes to go for slightly faster engineering bays, but I mean, this time around, Sharp's actually going to apply a bit of pressure with a 2-rax, and that might catch Action off guard. He's made a safety sunken, but he might not necessarily expect to straight up 2-rax out of Sharp here.
Yeah, this is surprising to me. Sharp going for this 2-rax. I definitely expected eBay first, and Action only has 2 lings, 1 sunken colony. Is going to deny this scout here. Will he be able to throw down a sunken and turn it, or will he be able to throw down a creep and make another sunken in time? I think he might just barely have it. But if Sharp starts stimming and just running across this map, it could be pretty close.
Nada would definitely do something like that. A lot of these other Terrans are a little bit shy about being that aggressive. Nada would certainly be hyper aggressive right now and try and gun down these Sunkens just before they finish. We got a blocking Evo out in front. He's going to go for it now. The Sunken's only just now morphing with the drone drill. He should be okay. But now he's targeting down drones. There's so many drones going down. He doesn't even have to bust the Sunkens anymore. I would say Sharp should have backed out as soon as he killed those drones, to be honest with you. But it seems like he was adamant on doing damage to those Sunkens. I think that was a little bit of a mistake from Sharp. He killed so many drones drones. All he had to really do was just pull back the moment that finished. But I guess he just didn't expect to get these bar units back home safely with how close the mutas were to hatching out. So the thought process there was just do as much damage as possible, because I'm probably not getting these bar units home anyway.
I mean, the target fire there, absolutely insane. Sharp, extremely precise with his clicks, just getting rid of a ton of that economy. And Action throws down an immediate evolution chamber. So we're going to see another Crazy Zerg play. But from a bit of a deficit here, some damage has been done. And that's a lot of turrets, man. He is ready for this. And it's not going to get nearly as many SCVs as last time.
Well, these turrets might be not only just to protect his SCV line, but knowing that it's tempting for Zergs to, you know, go kind of two-base all in when they take that kind of losses. So Sharp is kind of just making sure there's no way that Action will be able to just bowl him over with like non-stop mutaling production or something. And he hasn't got a bunker, mind you, so let's keep that in mind. He wants to make sure he's got as much anti-air as possible to buffer against the potential of an all-in play now from Action after killing that many drones. He started to replace a few of them, I think. He's got like 4 or so drones on minerals in the natural. It's still not optimal. Definitely a lot of damage was done to Action with that push. It's hard to say for sure. Oh, actually, he macroed up pretty hard. Action, yeah, I mean, this is actually kind of good for him. Like, Sharp reacted as if Action was going to go aggressive, but actually Action went a bit greedy and just didn't make many additional units at all. Actually droned pretty heavy behind that. So, I mean, I hate to say it, but I think actually Action's ahead, weirdly enough.
Well, you can't blame Sharp for making that many turrets after dealing all that damage. It's so common for these Zergs to just go kind of all in after taking that much abuse. Diving in again here, he's gonna lose one Mutalisk to trade out for the turret. Trying to open up this position right now. I'm surprised to see Action stay so aggressive, even though he's basically not making mutas. He's making just a tiny trickle of mutas and switching into this Crazy Zerg play. Coming in here and taking more damage on these is kind of crazy. And there's the scan. Sharp sees what's up now. Does he scan the natural and see the evolution chamber too?
I'm not so sure, but he did see a lot of drones hatching, and that's a big tell. It's very weird to be pumping drones at this point in the game. So, yeah, I mean, he should be able to sniff this out, even if he hasn't yet identified that evolution chamber. But this is a little bit of a problem for Sharp. I mean, it's good from Action to be hyper-aggressive with the mutas regardless of how many he's got, because he needs to keep Sharp convinced that this could be, you know, more aggressive play and keep him on the defensive, both in terms of where his Marines are positioned, but also, you know, wasting money on turrets that he doesn't necessarily need. And even with all those turrets, Action's done a great job of breaking open his formation. You know what? Maybe Action's just been playing out of his mind lately, and these guys are actually scared of him. Like, it's possible that Action's been dominating these guys in the practice games, and that's why they're playing quite timid against him.
I mean, this is kind of shocking. Action just breaking this open. He's even preventing mining at this natural without a full commitment to mutas and going directly into, you know, Hive, evolution chamber, getting into that Crazy Zerg play. We'll see if Sharp is on time with his upgrades here, because that's really the only thing that's going for him, is that he's got a good amount of production and he should have pretty reasonable upgrade timings. He's got that science facility done and double eBay back at home, but he cannot mine from his natural. That's crazy, Shun. Where is the third place? He's got to find the third and put some pressure on it so that he can't just camp over his natural and keep hitting everything in that. He can get back to mining finally in that natural. SCV's got to get back over there so that Sharp can get some income going.
Absolute craziness in the Crazy Zerg game. I mean, he's going to start to put some units out on the map right now, but yeah, not being able to mine is a big problem to say the least. Now that big wall of sunken starting to come down, Sharp's trying to come down and put a lot of pressure onto this bottom right quadrant of the map that's just now finished, but there was a preemptive Nidus canal that Action made, so he's already joining up with this bottom bottom right base, and he's going to sandbag the push of this Marine force with the Mutalisks. We'll have an Irradiate to try and split off again. Pretty beautiful splitting from Action, taking pretty minimal damage from that. As soon as that Nidus Canal finishes, he can start to reinforce this position. Hasn't got any Sunkers down here or anything yet. Sharp has a tiny little attack window to get down here and do something. There's an Ultralisk about to pop out and help defend. Chitinous plating not yet finished though. Still a bit of an attack window available to Sharp, but it is still pretty razor thin. That door is closing on him every second that ticks by. Sharp's got to get in here right now and try and take out this base. There's a second Ultralisk. Chitinous plating not yet finished. It's seconds away. He just needs to somehow hold on for a few precious beats before Sharp pulls the trigger on smashing this base. I don't know if he's going to get it in time. He's trying to hide his Ultralisk slightly. It's literally going to finish any second now, but Sharp kind of hooing and harring a little bit, not quite pulling the trigger on breaking this just yet.
Oh my gosh, it finished. Are you kidding me, Sharp? I mean, the reinforcements came in time. He could have gone for this, but he's just sitting near the ramp here. He wants to take a good fight against these Ultras by going down the ramp and kind of baiting the fight, but this is crazy. He could have, I think, broken this. It's wild to me that the Terran players are playing this timid against Action. Like, what has he been up to in the interim? Like, has he just been smashing everybody?
I think so. I think so. The way they're playing makes me think that they have no confidence against Action whatsoever. Like, seriously, it does seem to indicate that. +2 Carapace just finished now for Action, trying to intercept this Science Vessel, does eliminate that. Will dry up the rest of his own forces for the achievement of that, but still, it's a pretty big snipe. Any vessel losses right now are pretty untenable. He is not producing more than one at a time currently. He is pretty all in with that attack, and well, more like semi all in, and because that attack now failed, Sharp is in a deficit. The supplies look pretty healthy for Sharp, but I promise you the supplies are not reflective of the game state. With only one starport available to Sharp for the time being, he's really starting to dwindle in the power scaling. Needs to keep active with these vessels, try and soften up these Ultralisks way before engagements take place. Looks like he's eyeing up another attack vector here. Could go to the natural, could rotate round back to the bottom right, intercepted by these Ultralisks. If he guns them down with target firing, he can still win this fight. Action though, of 2 more reinforcing Ultralisks on the other side, starting to make up the difference, but I think that Sharp is coming out ahead on these trades, and yeah, Action forced to tuck tail and run. There's barely enough bio here for Sharp to make this happen. 3 of those Ultralisks dangerously low as well. Maybe, just maybe, Sharp can find a win condition here.
Yeah, that was a mistake. Action taking a fight like that. It's so well understood at this point for Crazy Zerg that you don't want to be aggressive and fighting the Terran player at this point. You want to just be running around, waiting for them to make a decision where they want to engage, and then flanking the army. Getting out in the middle of the map, that's a win more move. That's like, I'm way ahead of you type of move that is going to backfire now. Sharp making his way down towards the bottom right. There's not enough Ultras here on 3 gas, and Sunkens are being made here to try and save this 4th. These Sunken colonies, these Desperation Sunkens are just not going to work, and GG is called. Dude, Sharp takes down Action, even though it was looking like a desperate situation. Action just taking a weird engage in the middle of the map and ends up paying the price for it. All right, bringing out the big guns here. Soul Key spawning down in the bottom left. We got Sharp here in the top right. That was a couple of the weirdest games I've seen recently in KCM. This is like, I must be missing something. Maybe I'm just too tired, too jet-lagged right now to fully comprehend what's going on here, because these games seemed really strange to me, Shun.
Yeah, no, they definitely were a little bit on the weird side. I think there's been something happening in their practice games which is forcing pretty strange variations, and maybe slightly unorthodox methodology in what win conditions they want to isolate. But I did understand the win condition from Sharp there. He understood that, you know, one of the ways to beat Crazy Zerg is that sort of like 2-1 timing where you just crank out as much bio as possible and kind of hope for the best, that you can either sunken break or, you know, have enough bio that you can just trade well against the Ultralisks no matter what. I mean, Action got into full 1 upgrades with, you know, everything kind of set up, but he was a little bit greedy in trying to secure that 4th base when he did, and that was a lot of resources invested by him to secure that at that time. He would have been better off churning out a few more Ultralisks, playing a little bit more keep away in the center, and not sacrificing too much of the HP of his Ultralisks to slow down Sharp, and gradually taking that 4th base with a little bit more of a tentative mindset, and unfortunately was made to pay the price. But he, I mean, this is a nice little play here from Sharp. He sent out a very early scout, and he's slowing down this hatchery timing of Sulky. Oh, he's gonna eBay block as well. Look at this cheeky nerd right now. Sulky is gonna be forced to take the base at the natural 3rd. This is so much more suboptimal than it is against Protoss as well. So I don't even know what's gonna happen in this game. The one thing going for Sulky is that the ramp is super close to the hatchery at that 3rd on the cliff, so it's not the end of the world. He can easily make sunkens to defend that. But how do you sunken your natural now? Like, there is definitely a window where Sharp goes for a 2-racks play, puts on a lot of pressure that Sulky can't handle stopping.
Sulky gonna go for 3 hatch before gas in order to adapt to the early block there, the eBay block from Sharp. And it's a difficult position to play, but I think that honestly Sulky thrives in these type of weird spots. Like, he's one of those guys where no matter what gets thrown at him in the early game, you know, that's, I think, the reason why he went for overpool here as well. He's like, all right, I just survived the early game. The position gets weird, doesn't matter. I'm still going to be able to find a way to get that victory condition and break through the Terran player at a moment of their inconvenience.
Yeah, like overpool can shut down a 14cc, an 8-racks, a BBS, that kind of stuff, and will make you super safe against that range of opening. And look at this, it is going to be that mass barracks opening from Sharp. He's throwing down 2 additional barracks before even taking his gas.
Wow.
So he definitely is in the same kind of thinking that I was. You know, this is such a late natural expansion for Sulky. It will be hard to, you know, secure both of those. He's going to have to sunken up 2 locations, which is very costly early game. Sulky may rely on Zerglings to do a lot of the heavy lifting to try and circumnavigate, having to make sunkens at 2 locations this early on in the game. You can see quite a few of those Zerglings starting to come out now, but he might not be calculating for 3 barracks worth of production with those Zerglings. So there is a chance that maybe Sharp can still make this work. Needs to be careful though, coming onto the map this early on with these Naked Marines, a little bit of a mistake. Seems like he's just kind of playing with fire and trying to bait out some additional defenses from Sulky. I hope he doesn't just lose these Marines for free, because he needs all hands on deck. The speed upgrade now finished for those Zerglings as well. If he can just chill, wait for this academy to finish, make a fire bat, make some medics, and then go for a little bit delayed bio push timing, maybe he can just bowl Sulky over if he's going to be relying predominantly on Zerglings.
Yeah, there's a very good chance that with this kind of unorthodox 3 racks play, Sharp can just run Sulky down. He'll have to make a bunch of sunken colonies if he wants to survive, and there might just be too much for him to handle. If you got 3 medics immediately, you can break through so many sunken colonies, man. Like, you need 3, 4 sunkens plus a bunch of lings to be able to hold that off. There it is, 3 medics. That is scary, but he's going to come out through the wall and immediately get dove upon. Quite a few Marines are going to go down here at the cost of a lot of lings, but this is taking a lot of the punch out of the attack, man. This is a really good move by Solkey, diving on that right as he starts to move out.
Yeah, it's so hard to have like the Terran reaction to like manually move command your Marines to the supply depot to help shoot over the wall and actually trade better. Like, you're not really thinking about that kind of engagement at that moment, so a lot of his Marines like ran backwards trying to help out because they weren't quite in range. It's so hard to get all your Marines to move and shoot the way you want them to when they're trying to maneuver through those little tight corridors like that. And 3 Sunkens now finished up in the natural. That's just barely the prerequisite amount to hold that bioforce there. So he's going to rotate round to the natural third, and Solkey's ready on the high ground with 2 Sunkens there and a couple of links. A little bit of run by here from Solkey as well, getting a full scout off into the main base, maybe even slowing down the build time of that factory. Seems like no, not going to be so much achieving that, but does get a full scout up in the main base. 3rd Sunken on the way on that natural third, a 4th as well. This is the perfect amount of Sunkens and the perfect amount of additional Sunkens and timing from Solkey. Really championship tier stuff here from our Zerg, making the correct adjustments needed to have the prerequisite defensive structures going forward.
Just enough to block everything. Here comes those mutas now. Mutas are out. That complicates things for the Terran to try and bust this sunken line. He's still going to go for it, though. Where are the medics? The medics quite a bit farther back. Not going to get the healing going right off the bat. So quite a few of the Marines die immediately. And now that the mutas are here, he has to fall away from that bust. Not going to make it work. Sharp in full retreat now as the mutas begin to head across the map to start their pressure. He does get a little bit of a catch there, almost killing one of these mutas, and he has a bunker back at home. Can he gather the Marines together here? Is Solkey going to be able to pick these off as they try to return home?
Yes, bunker's so important to secure the low ground while he consolidates the majority of those bar units to the high ground to protect the important production line that hasn't yet got turrets finished up. This is a nice little move here from Sharp to get rid of this scouting overlord. That'll make it a little bit harder for Solkey to calculate where to go and when to go. But I mean, this is not looking good for Sharp. This is almost ideal conditions for our champion Zerg player. He's rotating around with 7 mutas now, poking to the natural, just taking a little bit of a swipe at these mining SCVs. Just a couple of kills so far, trying to limit the economic potential of the Terran player without really losing too many hit points on those valuable air units. He doesn't want to make too many Mutalisks right now. You can see he's just teching up and droning. So he's kind of doing the bare minimum with these Mutalisks to try and keep them as healthy as possible. Sharp will probably identify that and start to put pressure with his units out. The problem is the Sunkens are already made, so he can't really accomplish a whole lot with this bio in the middle of the map, which is now Sharp's biggest problem, because he can't really threaten counterattacks like he would traditionally. So Solkey's going to get away with murder and Makarov so powerfully.
We're going to see a Lurker's transition coming soon. Sharp has this transition well underway as well. It's not over by any means, but for sure, Solkey is hitting all of the beats and handling this kind of weird situation with the very late Mutalisk play. And, you know, this third base that had to go up so early because of the eBay block. I mean, nobody does it better, man. It's crazy what Solkey can do from all these awkward positions. Like, he's seen everything, he knows everything, all the different situations, all the different eventualities that could happen. He just knows them by heart and manages to have everything that he needs at exactly the right time when he needs it.
Well, Solkey's been a very impressive macro player for many, many years, way before he was dominant in the current scene. And I wonder if over the years he started to just try and figure out, okay, what are all of my answers to all of the possible variations that can occur? And that's one of the things that made Flash so good back in the day. Was, you know, he kind of saw every possible situation enough times to know how to handle it, and that basically is what Sulky does. Anything you throw his way, he's got an answer for it. He's either seen it before, thought about it before, has a good way of making adjustments and optimizing against it. There's 5 Sunkens here, 2 Sunkens borrowed, a couple of Scourge sharking around on the periphery to deny those vessels going too deep and getting an irradiate spell out on those precious defilers as well. I mean, everything is just so tight and clean here for Sulky. He even has this lurker towards the mineral line location to defend against drop play. Just everything is so tight and calculated here from our champion Zerg, and we've come to expect nothing less of him.
He's playing like an AI right now. He's hitting every single beat. That lurker in the mineral line, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. You just can't drop there now. That corner. As soon as you start to drop Marines out, the spines are going to start splashing all those down. You can bring a few Lings up and just handle that. It's a thing of beauty what we're seeing Sulky do right now in this game versus Sharp. Sharp's playing very well in his own right, and I thought that was a pretty sneaky and interesting adjustment that he made to go for the 3 racks early and try to put on a bunch of extra pressure. But it's like Sulky, he's a mind reader. He saw exactly what was going on. He got the perfect shutdown on it, and now trying to make factories out in the front. He wants to counter this Defiler Hydralisk style. What he's going for right now. Oh, but he doesn't see the Ultralisk cavern. There is Ultra coming. It's still okay to go for tanks, though, here. Tanks are still very useful.
Oh, absolutely. It's just that he might be caught off guard by those Ultras. He might be anticipating a much more traditional Hydra Defiler style, which is actually, you know, kind of birthed on maps like Eclipse and Sylphid, just because it was kind of necessary for the Zerg to go for this hype transmission. Well, hang on a second. How is he getting so much active damage with these Mutalisks, even catching some of these vessels and tanks? Sharp kind of forced to keep a lot of his army back at home, just anticipating movements from the Zerg. Finally spotting that Ultralisk cavern, but that's a beautiful plague that's just now connected with that fleet of vessels. I mean, this is going to be such a hard game for Sharp to win. He certainly can do it, though. He needs to make some additional factories, take his 4th base as soon as possible, make sure Sulky doesn't get any additional gases if he can help it. 3 gases, not too big of a deal, but if you allow Sulky 4 or more gases, this guy's an absolute monster with his macro. And his execution with his units is flawless. Like, just look at this. Just a few Zerglings, a couple of Defilers, just absolutely demolishing everything on the map that was containing him. Some Scourge actively sharking around for weakness in the positioning of those science vessels as well. Just flawless play from Sulky, utilizing such a minimal supply to get what needs to be done. And I mean, you can't fault the Zerg play at all here. Like, Sulky's just playing like an absolute monster, and he's going to start expanding rapidly. I imagine Sharp is going to have a hard time securing his 4th, because Sulky is setting up so that he's not only defending this top left base, but he's going to use it as an outpost to launch counterattacks on this natural 4th of Sharp, and that's a very powerful win condition here.
Sharp can't allow the space to come up in the top left-hand corner. That's going to be the point of contention here. If Sharp allows the space to complete, he is basically dead in the water. Look, we just saw 1,300 gas get spent, and that's the beauty of the way that Sulky's played this game so far, is he really hasn't had to build many lurkers. He built like maybe 6 lurkers this whole time and just defended them so well with Scourge and Overlords parked over top of them. Then he gets a couple of kills on vessels in Sharp's natural as well. He's killing off so many vessels here over and over again. Sharp's just not able to keep these things alive at all, and so he's just not going to be able to break this. I mean, he's got 2 maybe 3 irradiates there if he had the upgrade. I'm not sure if he got that energy upgrade, but it is a full energy vessel there. He has to break this top left. He has no choice. He's got to come up here and stop this from finishing, or this game is going to be over. He's pooling a lot of resources here, and he's preparing for a potential counterattack with a lot of mines and some tanks over in that natural. But here comes Sulky. Can he bust through? Ooh, he managed to not take any damage from that mine, but he loses the Defiler. Big win there for Sharp.
Yeah, it's going to take a little of the steam out of that, and he's going to now instead just rely on squeezing this fourth base potential play. He's going to use this army on the southern hemisphere to just shark around and deny any attempts from another base from sprouting out down there by Sharp. And he's actually getting in here to the third. This is insane how he's able to do this with such few units as well. Yeah, Sharp is in a lot of trouble. I mean, Sulky can just continue to like cycle units up to this top left corner and then use that as an attacking outpost to launch assaults onto this natural third and the potential fourth of Sharp. Can't really afford to expand to the bottom right because it's a little bit too far away from his rally point and his other units, so Sharp is kind of forced to go on the offensive here, and that's just what Sulky wants. There's not really a good answer for our Terran player, unfortunately. There are some good mine connections occurring, but Sulky's just on top of everything. Like you can see, he's pulling his ultras away just at the right timing. He's doing mine drags with these Zerglings as well. He's got just barely the correct amount of forces at each location to make it almost impossible for Sharp to get damage done for free. He's now ahead in supply of Sharp. He denied mining at that third for quite a while. Sharp has to double expand and take a fourth base now, or he is going to be dying. But the problem is that Sulky kind of wants him to do that. The more that Sharp plays the way he should, the more simple the win conditions get for Sulky. He forces you into these like lose-lose game theory situations where anything you do is just optimal for Sulky.
Yeah, this is looking worse and worse. Sharp wasn't able to keep that third alive against those couple of ultras under Dark Swarm, and so he lost a lot of mining time there, and he has not been able to set up a fourth base. He has not been able to shut down that top left, and with the double gas top left plus this gas, guys, that we're seeing on screen right here, how are you supposed to shut down Sulky? The number of ultras that's popping out right now is crazy. There's so many ultras coming out onto the field right now, and Sharp just does not have the production to keep up. It's a numbers game.
There's 6 gas. Yeah, there's literally 6 gas available to Sulky. Granted, the double geysers in the top left, you know, won't last forever, and he will eventually be mined out on the main and natural geysers soon, but for the time being, he is churning away on so much of that best being gas. And, I mean, these plagues are just eating through Sharp as well. He can't do anything to Sulky. This isn't even the bulk of Sulky's force. Like, he's using the bare amount of units to soften up the Terran, and then he comes in with some reinforcements to capitalize on the weakened standing army. I mean, Sharp is going to tap out now. There is nothing he can do to come back from this position. It's already reached an untenable state, and it's only going to get worse.
Dude, Sulky makes Zerg look OP. It's crazy what he's able to do. And, I mean, it's all because he played perfectly in the early game, so it's not really OP, guys. Only if you can play perfectly and defend everything with the bare minimum that you need to stop the Terran from breaking you and then get into a good macro position. It's much easier said than done, guys. We're going to jump into our next game, guys. Sulky has taken down his first victim. Set 4, Sulky. Spawning here in the top right. Speed in bottom right. Had a lot of good things to say about this guy over the past year. We watched so many ladder games from him on my channel and got very hyped for this season of ASL, where maybe nerves got to him. Speed did not perform as well, and I think maybe he lost some of his momentum. He hasn't been showing up for and pulling out great games like we saw just pre-ASL 19. Maybe he'll get a second win when ASL 20 rolls around.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I mean, it's not that long away now, right? So, I mean, they'll be starting up at the end of August, and that's just around the corner. So, I mean, maybe this guy starts really churning out a lot of games and goes for it again. He certainly has the potential. Would love to see him really start to shine and keep playing out of his mind in his tournaments. And this is his best matchup by far, it has to be said. Maybe he can get under the skin of Sulky, crack that chitinous plating, and you know, maybe get not only a win on the board here for Terran, but eliminating one of their star players. They obviously can bring Sulky back in a revive, but the Terran squad still has a revive as well. My money obviously would still definitely be on Sulky and the Zerg squad. I know this might be a little bit of a frustrating couple of games for you guys to watch, especially if you're Terran fans, just because, you know, Sulky's like the Floyd Mayweather of the Starcraft universe. He's so defensive and will just wear you down as time progresses. And when it comes time, he's gonna, you know, dish out the necessary damage to make you hit the mat and get that Belder ring. And I mean, he's such an absolute beast that he's one of the best in the business at navigating whatever pressure you throw his way. He's going to stay on the outside, slip the jab, and just make it an absolute nightmare for any of his opponents.
Speed is a bit of a crazy player. We'll see if he can find the antidote to Sulky's insane defense, blocking everything that the Terrans have thrown at him so far, that Sharp was able to throw at him. Just none of it seemed to be enough, and he handled that awkward situation with a lot of grace. Now, Speed, we might see him go for something crazy, go for, you know, some wild drop play. I've seen him, you know, open 2 vessels into drops. I've seen him open just straight up, you know, 2 to 4 drop ships immediately. I've seen him open 4 or 5, 6 vessels and then switch into drops. He really likes to mix it up and surprise the Zerg with sudden drops flying in while putting on pressure everywhere at the same time, at the third, at the natural, hitting in all different locations at the same time. But that's a mid-game problem for Sulky to worry about. He's still got this early game to try and get an advantage going.
Absolutely. And I think the observers, or rather the commentators, were kind of freaking out about this Overlord and how Sulky has the game knowledge to understand that he can't actually see that Overlord despite it looking like it should be in vision range. So he can see all the way down to the bottom of that barracks with how far forward that Overlord was. He knows that egg is now opened up, so he can potentially poke in with these Zerglings and squash the Terran just as he starts to come out for a move out timing. And he might attempt, oh, he's putting a lot more Zerglings. He might be going for a similar maneuver as we saw in Eclipse, forcing Speed to come out onto the map with these Bioforces, then going for a wraparound, kind of throwing a red herring Speed's way, making him think that it's safe to come out. But there's a lot of Zerglings to the north that can flank these.
Oh my
massive wraparound.
Huge wraparound here. He's gonna kill every single Marine. Speed not doing a scan. This is one of the things that I often criticize Terran players for failing to do. Scanning that natural just to check how many drones do you really have is the best way to figure out if there's a big Ling attack coming in.
Absolutely. No, really, he should have been doing that, saying for sure. He might even get the surround on this Firebat if he's not careful. Yeah, he's pulling the trigger and that takes out the Firebat and the Marine. That medic desperate in healing up those precious SCVs, keeping them fresh. Eliminates one of the SCVs, building the 3rd barracks. This is bad news, bears for Speed. Zerglings now going to work on any Marines that are popping out of these production line, as well as going to start to slow down the turret timings. SCVs coming out for a turrets around. That's a lot of lost mining time, and he will get the cancel on those turrets. Maybe not quite getting the second one. Here come the Mutalisks to finish the job. That turret might go down instantly. One more swipe will finish the job. Preemptive repair, barely not saving it. Now Speed in complete disarray as Sulky looks to get a tactical GG, forcing the Terran to pull so many SCVs off the line to desperately get these turrets online, and I don't think he's going to be successful in doing so.
And he finally gets the turret up, but the Mutalisks will just stay and finish that off, and now he's got control of the barracks. This is the win condition here, continuing to rally forward Mutas and just controlling this area is all he needs to do. Speed has already lost a ton of SCVs. He's down to 26 workers. GG. As he taps out Sulky, another victory on the board. Crazy how good this guy is, and you can just see Speed not quite crossing all those T's, man. He didn't scan the natural. He makes a small mistake. These are the mistakes that Sulky just never makes. This guy always has the information that he needs, and he knows at all points in the game what you're up to. All right, our final Terran player, Sack, takes the stage. Sack, whatever you call him. This is not the guy. Unfortunately, Suck is not going to take down Sulky here. I'm calling it. This is a 99-1 that Suck manages to take this guy out.
If Suck beats Sulky, I'll apologize to you guys. Like, I have such little faith in this guy beating our champion Zerg, who, by the way, while he might be the Floyd Mayweather defensive style most of the time, sometimes he comes out swinging like Mike Tyson. He's gonna chew your ear off, and sometimes you might even like hear him crying in the booth before his games, and you might be thinking like, why is he crying? He's crying because he's scared of how much he's gonna hurt you. It's just that much of a difference in skill between him and some of these guys. He just absolutely brutalizes people. It's insane.
He just looks at his Terran opponent, not impressed at all. Has the exact counter speed. He saw what he was going for, and he knows his tendencies, that he wasn't going to scan the natural and figure out what's happening. We've seen in the past, right, Sulky do crazy things to make a Ling attack like that work, sending the drones from the main to the natural to saturate it for that initial scan, to hide the fact of what he's up to. But he didn't even have to do it that time, and he knew he didn't have to do it that time. He knew. He read his mind. He knew that Speed was going to be optimizing to the very max and skipping that comsat, and he just built the Lings necessary to completely surround and kill that initial move out. It's just, it's insane to me how much of a download Sulky has on these other players.
No, you're completely right, Saying. It's very astute what you just said. I think that's one of the things that makes him so great. It's not just that he's got all these little variations and timings mapped out, but he's got a very subtle read on all the individual skill sets of these guys, and not just what they're capable of, but their tendencies. So he can think to himself, you know what, this guy, you know, he's a little bit greedy. He probably will just scan the main, and if he does, I pull the trigger on his attack. If he doesn't, I just play from slightly behind. And it's kind of like a football player or something. Like, he's not always going to score when he runs into position, but if the ball deflects a certain way, then he's guaranteed a goal almost just by running for that potential. And that's what Sulky does a lot of the time. He's calculating these, like, you know, risk assessments and possible variations, and relying on the tendencies of his opponent to exploit. And when it does align, when the ball does deflect the way he's expecting it to, he's headering that ball straight in the goal with such finesse every time.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Sock is opening with Mech Shun. Sock gonna try a mech play versus the champion here. Can he make that work? He will get into the main base and spot the Spire. Very important that he gets that information. And knows exactly what the tech is going to be here from Solkey, because he's not going to have scanners to confirm that anytime soon. So, you know, if there was a Hydra Den in here and there was going to be lurkers running up and burrowing in the front of the base, he could be in a lot of trouble. But now he knows for sure what's going on here, and he can just play out his mech style.
It's actually going to be a 1-1-1 build. To try and rush into Valkyries. We've seen this from Sark a lot. He's a teched out player, and I think he realizes if he is going to beat someone like Solkey, he's going to need to do some heavy lifting with the use of those tactical point defense units of those Valkyries. I mean, Solkey's just so prolific with his Brutalist control and, you know, his mid-game timings. I mean, maybe this can work out for Sark. It does allow you to put on a lot of pressure than usual. You can do, like, say, like a 10-minute kind of timing rather than 11-minute timing, which, you know, will be pre-defiler, and maybe you'll do a lot of damage to the Zerg if they haven't yet got a lot of lurkers made or what have you. I still don't think necessarily Sark's going to be successful with this, but I mean, it's a nice idea. It's certainly what you'd want to go for against someone like Solkey. If you just play a straight-up SK Terran style, he's probably going to destroy you.
And it looks like Sark going to combine the Valkyrie play with a Vulture run by. He's got 3 vultures made now, and he should have speed on the way. So he's going to try and hit this right as the mutas come into his main to cause a bit of a conundrum for Solkey. Does he micro his mutas, or does he defend against the vultures running by? Here they go. They're going to run in now, but not running behind the mineral patches. A bit surprised about that. It could have gone for a quick run behind the mineral patches, which makes it much more difficult for the lings and drones to clean up.
A little bit indecisive there from Sark. Here comes a Valkyrie to try and get a lot of damage onto his Mutalisk. Successful volley initially, but I mean, Solkey's got a pair of Scourge ready to snipe this. I hope that Sark is on the ball, because if Solkey just runs in and snipes this Valkyrie, he's in a lot of trouble. He needs to keep both of these first 2 Valkyries alive and kicking for quite some time. The win condition for the Zerg is to eliminate either of those first 2 Valkyries before the Terran can bank up a significant number of them to put the pressure on. We do see additional barracks being made now, so this will be a normal bio play. Just, you know, teching up to those Valkyries as quickly as possible. But Solkey sharking around with those Scourge could spell disaster for Sark if he missteps with these Valkyries just once. He will get a tactical snipe on that Overlord to deny some scouting. But as you can see, he's actually scared to kill that Overlord. He knows that Solkey could just run in and snipe those precious units in a moment's notice. And they are essentially like gold dust at this stage in the game. If you lose either of those Valkyries, most of the time you're statistically likely to lose the game.
Gonna be a run by here into the main base. Couple of vultures make their way up here. Gonna try and kill a few drones. Surprised to see him lay mines right there. As the time is very precious, getting as much damage as possible should be the main priority, but he gets maybe 1 drone in the end, gets a bit of a scout in the main as well, sees the timing on the hive at least, or the queen's nest there. And so has a good idea of what the follow-up is going to be from Solkey. However, is Sark going to be able to hit a timing with this Valkyrie play when he's got about 4 or 5 Valkyries? It's when the Valkyrie play is at its strongest, and he should be able to completely deny the air of Solkey. Can he hit a tank push right before this Defiler comes out? It's looking very tight for now here, Jun. Yeah, I think Solkey's gonna have this on time. He started that Queen's Nest really early, and oh my god, you've got to be kidding me. He's blocking himself from mining gas, and he's built a couple of bunkers here at the front as well. He was expecting some sort of attack out of Solkey.
Man, like, I hate to say it, but like, Sark has somehow managed to make me value him even less in this game than I did originally, which is a pretty significant deal because I mean, he's basically a pro gamer computer at this point, and that's not a compliment. Like, seriously, like an AI that's not that competent probably could play a lot better than him some of the times. And now he's in a lot of trouble. He might even be allowing these lurkers to get a whole position set up. He doesn't have vessels to identify those. He has to manually scan to spot those. So if he's not on top of things and just tries to move across the map, those subterranean spines can just rip through him. He does, okay, he does scan. Okay. So there's something, a little bit of hope here for Sark. He's going to try and siege up and punish this lurker positioning. Does tactically snipe two of them with a good target fire. So, I mean, this isn't too bad for Sark. He fixed the gas mining issue as well. I'll be so happy for him if he can somehow pull this game through. But I'm not yet convinced.
Let's see. He has to scan again. Probably pretty low on these scans overall. And immediate unburrow here. Sulky gonna back up. A Defiler just about to pop out here. Sulky's done enough slowdown. I don't think that this tank push will hit very hard, and the follow-up's gonna be a mech switch. So we are gonna see mech at the end of the day here, Shun.
Nice. I mean, I do like mech transitions. In a way, I kind of hope it does work out for Sark. I would actually like to be wrong and that he performs really good and surprises us all. I really loved mech transitions in TVZ, and he kind of played okay. He hasn't really lost the initial Valkyries or anything, but he has lost the timing window of this tank push being really effective. He's got, you know, maybe a few seconds to get over here and do some critical damage to this third base right now. He cannot delay it a moment more, and I do fear for him that he is going to be delaying this just a few more seconds, which will allow that consume to finish up momentarily, and that Defiler is going to pop through that Nidus Canal and throw down a big Cheeto dust cloud to kind of prevent Sark from, you know, comfortably utilizing that controller.
Yeah, here it is. Darkstorm going to be coming down here in a second. Can he get at least one kill on a lurker? Oh, not quite. I guess it gets one. In the end, gonna lose these tanks. Nice job there, getting that surround. Sulky pushing everything away for now, and this game is gonna go on, guys. There's not gonna be a bust here. Sock not able to get the value out of this tank transition. Does manage to keep the Valkyries alive critically. Trying to get over here to an angle where he can start to use this tank over the wall, but Sulky all over that. He just knows exactly what Sock is up to here. Immediately draws down with the Lurker Defiler combo and make sure that that can't happen. Now he's going to go ahead and take his fourth base and start to truly power up into late game, while Sock is just now getting his third CC and starting to float that out.
Yeah, I mean, the writing is on the wall for Sark. The longer this game state is maintained, the worse it will become for our Terran player. Sulky is just too good at navigating these strange corridors of behavior trees. Unless you're executing out of your mind, you will not go tit for tat with him, and he will end up with tiny little niggles of advantages, and he will scrape everything out of the nooks and crannies that he needs to get maximum value for that late game setup. I mean, it's great that Sark is now setting up his third base, but it's not enough. He kind of needs 4 bases to go toe-to-toe with Sulky right now, but that would be spreading himself too thin. This is, yeah, like a little bit of a problem for our Terran player. Ultralisk Caverns is well on the way. You don't necessarily need Ultralisks in this situation, but if you keep the game scrappy enough and you force the Terran to cover wide areas with small pockets of units everywhere, the more chaotic you make the game, even when you are playing mech, Ultralisks find higher and higher value. And seems like Sulky is shutting out Sark from the rest of the map as well, so that he can not only continue growing in his own expansions, but start to tighten the noose around Sark in this game the longer it goes on.
Gonna try and push up here towards 12 while Sulky is distracted down at the bottom side of the map. Sark needs a 4th base, but he's gotta reach out so crazy far to make that happen. Getting all the way down here into the bottom left. It's just the way this map is structured. He's not going to be able to take a tight 4th base. That 12 o'clock actually would be a strong position if he could make it happen, but Sulky got up there so early and set up this defense. It's like he just knows, you know, it would be much better for Sark if he could get a hold of this, so I'm just going to get it as soon as possible and deny it from him.
Can I just point out that Sulky is such a madman? He has +2 flyer carapace on his air units. Like, he is not cutting any corners. Like, he has the potential to deal with Sark making like 8 Valkyries or something, and now he can switch back into Mutalisks to help put a bit of a clock on some of these tanks that are not so well defended and what have you. This is going to make things exceedingly awkward for Sark, because he was hoping that a few point defense Valkyries would hold the line and protect these valuable tanks. That's no longer the case with that +2 armor on those mutas. You can see just how threatened Sark feels. He's backing up to the center of the board and giving so much oxygen to Sulky. He's double expanding now to that southeast quadrant of the map. Sark is going to be thinking about taking that 4th in the bottom left, but he will have to spread himself so thin to maintain that base, and Sulky could just fly around the map with some Mutalisks to take that out later or something. Like, there's a lot of counterattack opportunities for Sulky here. Sark has to go on the aggressive and force the issue.
He is going to try to get down here towards the bottom right. Now that the Dark Swarm has been placed and Irradiates have been thrown down, he's going to change his direction, head over towards this natural. Loses a vessel on the way up here. Gonna set up tanks. Very important that he doesn't lose a big clutch of tanks here initially. He's got to keep this tank count high. Great plague there from the high ground. Hits 3 tanks and a couple vessels. That is so much value, but Sark is getting into a good position with these tanks. Hard to dislodge Terran player from this position here. Some Goliaths are finally being added on, realizing that the threat from the Mutas is real. Coming forward here with the Mutas now. Gonna gun down a few of these tanks. This is some great value. Will be driven back eventually, but dude, these Mutas have so much staying power with that +2.
Yeah, that's the main thing here, is that these Mutalisks have so much more sustain and viability to snipe tanks, be an active threat non-stop, and force Sark to play much more point defense, and that means it limits his attacking potential. He's doing a good job of trying to push himself and wedge between this natural 3rd in the bottom right, as well as these 2 expansions which have just now finished. He's committing a lot of forces across the board to try and solidify his attacking position and eliminate those 2 hatcheries that have just now finished. He did kill the lurkers underneath the Dark Swarm, actually. Sulky has lost control of that wedge position. Sark now can definitely eliminate these 2 bases in the bottom right. Sulky desperately throwing down some sandbagging Sunkens to buy a little bit of time here. I mean, if Sark can just cover all of the angles and prevent any counterattacks from going online to that 4th base in the bottom left, Sark can actually win this game. That's going to be madness if Sark can actually beat Sulky here. He definitely is now aligned to do so. If he can knock out both of these bases in the bottom right and keep that 4th base mining, there is hope yet for our Terran squad, crazily.
Oh my gosh, he's gonna get on top of these drones as well, hitting the center right while hitting the bottom right. Sulky actually finished a Nidus down there, so he might be able to save that base bottom right, but things are getting kind of chaotic. These Mutas are not going to do well against this many Goliaths, but whoa, a big unload of Ultralisk goes down on top of these tanks, plus a Dark Swarm as well. Flying Defiler is insane, landing a Defiler and dropping the Dark Storm here to help these Ultras out, but the Ultras get cleared. Tanks are shoving back down and towards this bottom right. He's going to get in range of the Sunken Colony here and start to push the issue. unreal. Sock is starting to break this, but Sulky is still holding on to both of these mining bases. He needs to get more forces through these Nidus canals, though, and shut down these tanks.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of crazy. And it looks like Sark is starting to throw in the 3 o'clock as well. He's killing the Nidus canal. If that goes down, it's going to really limit Sulky's efforts of defending. He's trickling some units out of that Nidus canal now, ravaging the drone line at the 3 o'clock position. Sulky defends the Nidus canal in the bottom right for the time being. Now some Mutalisks are out, putting a clock on these siege tanks. If Sulky somehow defends this, I'm going to lose my mind. Absolute stellar defense from him thus far, being absolutely torn apart by this attack of Sark, and he's just barely hanging on. This hatchery is so close to death right now. He target fires it with that tank, doesn't get the final shot off, still hasn't killed that Nidus canal in that bottom right pocket. For the time being, Sulky is hanging on. Sark's not quite done yet, though. There's still a glimmer of hope. He has got these tanks on the low ground. If he keeps scanning down here, he can keep applying more and more pressure. He's cleared up the lurkers at the 3 o'clock as well. That hatchery is dangerously low to going down. That's a very important mining base for Sulky. He's losing drones as well. He's got a small attacking force making his way to the Terran's 4th base in the bottom left. Some vultures coming in to try and reinforce that position, but Sulky, he's starting to struggle now. Sark doubling him in supply. Are we gonna have Sark eliminating Sulky? This is bonkers.
I think it's gonna happen here, Shun. Sark is so close right now. He is being pulled left and right on the bottom 4th base there to the center left 3rd. Sulky is starting to take a little bit of initiative here in dealing with some of these bases, or at least trying to deal with some of these bases. He's killing a lot of SCVs with this one single lurker under Dark Swarm. An Ultra makes its way up here as well. That Ultra will not be easily dislodged. Some more tanks making their way forward here, and a few more reinforcements coming up from the south. Looks like he will clear everything, but he's lost a pretty significant number of his drones. Can Sock keep it together just long enough to put the final nail in the coffin? It seems like he might be able to.
Yeah, there's some more additional units trying to trickle into this 4th base now to force an evacuation procedure. I don't know, though. This is not too hot for Sulky. He's just got one more mining base at that 12 o'clock position. There's a little bit of trickle of minerals coming in from his main base, but not nearly enough to be sustainable. GG is called, and somehow, some way, Sark eliminates Sulky. I'm sorry, guys. I was totally wrong about this match. I said I would apologize if he did win, and he did somehow win. Unbelievable that the likes of Sark is getting the best of our championship tier Zerg. Absolutely wild stuff we're seeing in the KCM finals. We've said it so many times before, saying anything can happen. I think that just about proves it for the 50 millionth time.
Well. Apology accepted, Shun. Should have believed in old Sock like I did. just kidding, guys. I'm completely blown away. Let's jump into our next game. All right, we're in the Twilight Zone. We've stepped through the gate. We've passed through the mirror. We're on the other side now. We've got Hero versus Sock. This is another dimension where Sock beats Sulky in the KCM. It's awkward, but here we are.
Here we are saying it is what it is. I mean, we're in definitely a different kind of parallel universe. You know, sometimes I wonder, saying if like every time we go to sleep and wake up, we like wake up into some kind of different dimension or version of Earth, and it's more or less the same but not quite right. And maybe we slipped in to the parallel reality where somehow Sark is beating Sulky. I mean, I didn't think it was possible. I'm not sure how many of those parallel realities exist in the multiverse. Out of the many trillion variations, I'm sure there's a handful in which that is happening. So we're very lucky here today at KCM to see these razor-thin odds still come through.
imagine the feeling of satisfaction that Sock is having right now after having so many down days in the KCM and all these other tournaments, making these brutal mistakes that end up costing him games and throwing huge leads over and over again. Watching people make fun of him, and by people, I'm not talking about anyone in particular, but you know.
Gee, I wonder who.
And then he comes in here and he beats Sulky. Oh my goodness, the feeling that must be going through Sock right now. This guy is on cloud 9.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll happily eat my words. If this guy keeps performing and playing out of his mind, I'm all about it. If he takes down Hero here, I'm going to be rooting for him. I don't necessarily think it will happen. But who knows though? Maybe a fire has been lit underneath this guy. Maybe he saw some of the hate he was getting, that he basically was like a joke of a pro gamer or doesn't deserve to be here, or whatever else people have been saying about him in the comment section on some of his games or streams or what have you. You know, maybe he woke up a little bit and thought, you know what? They're right. I've not been training as hard as I should. I need to work harder. I need to figure out what's going wrong with my confidence and why I'm throwing games. Like, why are my nerves getting to me so much, or whatever the case may be. And maybe he's starting to figure it out. I mean, he took a game of Sulky right there. That's a very good benchmark going forward. If he can at least perform well against Hero, I'll be happy. Even if he doesn't beat Hero here, even if he just plays a good game of Starcraft, I'll be rooting for him making a bit of a comeback.
Yeah, my eyes have been opened here, Shun. Sock, he's looking brand new. Is over here, opening up with a 1 Rax fast expand. Will it be another teched out play? The problem maybe that he's been experiencing has been trying to force himself to play bio rather than going for these heavy teched out plays. He really did a great job with his Valkyries early on, not allowing Sulky to snipe those. Sulky's so good at getting in there with the mutas, wasn't able to really deal the damage that he's used to dealing, and Sock's transition was very smooth into this later game mech play. It also has to be said, you know, the transition into Ultralisk when your opponent is switching fully into mech and, you know, vulture mines and tanks, it's questionable. You know, you've got to keep it scrappy, like you were saying, and it was a relatively scrappy game, but the position that Sock got into at the bottom of that third base was so deadly, and you know, he just wasn't ready for it. Sulky was usually ready for everything. He wasn't ready for it that game, and I'm talking way too much about last game. Go ahead and talk about this one.
It's okay. Last game was so crazy. I'll forgive you, saying. I mean, we got pretty much standard, you know, 2.5 hatchery play here from Hero, and he's kind of going for a similar school of thought as Sulky was doing with these early speedlings. But I mean, one of the problems with 1-1-1 builds is they're extremely flimsy. You have hardly any units to defend. So even with this wall in from Sark, there is potential just to die. Like, say he could make like another 8 or 10 lings behind this, target the Marine in the wall and slip those lings in, and suddenly Sark's in trouble, even with this vulture here. But you know, that's a bit of a gamble. Hero probably not going to go for something like that, and he actually hasn't. It's much more safer to, you know, be a little bit greedy yourself, squeeze out a few extra drones. He's going to make a single sunk in here to buffer against any kind of those run by shenanigans. He'll play very similar to how Sulky did against Sark on that game on Metropolis. We'll have to see if it plays out quite in the same way. I don't necessarily think so, even though Hero has some very similar tendencies to Sulky. I think this will still play out a lot different despite those the overlapping gameplay.
You may be right. For now, Hero just keeping back his Mutalisk, not willing to move out just yet, and this is fine for Sock, right? These can run by and cause a problem for Hero while the Mutas are trying to deal some damage. or they can just sit here and, you know, preventing the Mutas from flying into his main indirectly. It's completely fine. Now, there is a pair of Scourge under this. He could be going for the Valkyrie here. Got to be super careful with this. So far, he's been great with the micro, and it's not going to be any different here. He gets the nice volley there. Gotta pull back. Can he actually get another volley without losing the Valkyrie? He does. Huge volleys here on these Mutas as they run away. Great control so far from Sock.
And you know what? I mean, that new coat of paint of Sark still holds up. He's still looking shiny. Not too much dirt has been able to accumulate on that chassis just yet. He's looking okay in this second game of his. I mean, who knows? Maybe we're going to have an absolute craziness where Sark is on fire today, and maybe he's got nothing to lose anymore. Maybe he's realized, you know what, I've been made to look like such a fool before. What else could possibly go wrong for me? Maybe that helps him play with renewed confidence, because even though he did have so many blunders, so many matches being thrown, I mean, now the sky's the limit for him. Everything he does is now going to be much better than his other games. So, you know, maybe he just plays like he doesn't care about what happens anymore. And maybe that, you know, that new way of approaching the game gives him a lot more further going forward. He has having so many problems with his buildings, though. He's got an SCV stuck between his starport and his factory and his main. He's having to kill his own turret in his natural now. He's certainly not playing optimally, but I have to say he's looking okay thus far against Hero.
Yeah, he hasn't taken the damage from Mutas. The Valkyries have done their job, and now they're in kind of a critical mass. 4 Valkyries is really scary. There are going to be lurkers out here soon, and so it's unlikely that he'll be able to just bowl over Hero with any sort of a timing. The lurkers are going to be there to slow it down, but will the Hive be as quick for Hero as it was for Sulky? Sulky really got that out fast so that he could block the incoming tank push, but maybe Hero misses that somewhat, and there's an opening here. Sock can get in and deal some real damage. Even if he doesn't, there's always the option to go to that mech switch again, play it out in a longer game, and we've already seen what Sock can do with that. Great mind connection there. Ooh, brutal mind connection. Does a huge amount of damage to start this fight.
Yeah, he softened up those 3 lurkers quite significantly. That's not game ending by any means, but any damage for free right now is pretty brutal for Hero to sustain. He hasn't yet saturated this 3rd base either. Just now taking the gas geyser there, transferring over a few drones, trying to get a bit of an edge in the economy state of things. Hive is on the way. He's going to try and get away with the bare minimal amount of units to, you know, deny this tank push from being successful early on here. And actually some vultures being slipped out, as well as these initial tanks, maybe to get some more mine value and, you know, skirmish around the map with those. Deny an easy 4th being established by Hero here. Setting on more and more factories, so he's definitely going to be doing that mech switch. You know, I love Terrans that play like this, so I don't even care if I think that Sark has been sucking lately. The fact that he's playing like this makes me want to support him, because this is the kind of style of Terran I really enjoy watching, and if he can make it work, then more power to him.
Yeah, the mech transition is kind of a unique thing in StarCraft. Not many there's not many Terran builds where you completely switch your tech midway through the game, but this one is a very powerful way to play. Now moving forward with the Valkyries, he's actually going to start killing a lot of Overlords, and he's going to catch the Mutas on the way back as well. That's a huge catch. He can even go further, go deeper, and kill even more Overlords, while Hero is supply block, can't really make Scourge.
I mean, this is crazy. Sark is playing out of his mind today. Hero coming up short with the answers that he's trying to give to the question that Sark is asking him. As long as he doesn't take too much bleed damage from moving around the map from this point onwards, he's already kind of, you know, looking pretty good. Or he might lose this tank, though. Does get those tanks eliminated by that Mutas threat and one of those precious vessels from that pair of Scourge. So Hero still finds some consolation prizes there despite being supply blocked for a while. Here comes a drop though in the main base of Hero. I think Hero missed it. I'm not sure he's aware of this. He could also elevate some more and more units down in here. He's going to stim and go. Valkyrie's in support as well. Target firing down the Evo chamber at first. See if he can get a cancel on that upgrade. Not quite finding it though. Two of the Valkyries going down to the pairs of Scourge. More units being dropped by that drop ship. Now Lurkers shuffling over with the support of the Mutalisks to clean this out. Hero will circumnavigate, losing too much in the main base. Keeps that upgrade going. And unfortunately for Sark, not quite finding the critical damage he was looking for, but his effort's not over yet. He's going to try and drop yet again. Those Lurkers might be out of position. It's the pair of Scourge trying to hunt down that drop ship, though. Do find connections on that. Even though he might get one or two drones here, Hero's done a great job of avoiding losses.
Yeah, he did an awesome job there of cleaning that up, getting all the units back into the main base quickly enough to handle that. But you know what? These Marines not really that important for Sark. These are kind of like the Mutas for the Zerg player once the Terran playing SK Terran style get the vessels out. It's like, okay, these aren't really that useful anymore. Let's just get what kind of value we can out of them, whether that's just defending the main, being air defense for the tanks, or throwing them in a drop and trying to get as much as he can. He almost got the evolution chamber, and that would have been a huge boon to his efforts here. +2 is done already for Hero. He's really been keeping up with these upgrades.
Well, I actually think that losing that Bioforce was a bit more significant than usual, just because of how delayed the third base has been for Sark. Usually you want to keep those remnants of bio units alive as long as possible until your mech switch is in full transition. And he kind of has done that. It's just not super optimal. Like, he will struggle to get this third base mining before like the 14-15 minute mark, and that's a little bit behind schedule. It's not bad, but it's certainly not good here for Sark, and he does run the risk of Hero outscaling him without sniping that upgrade. I don't think he has an answer to slow down Hero from getting this fourth base online, but he's lucky that it's not a gas expansion.
Yeah, not a gas expansion here, sending a few more Marines over to try and save this CC. These 3 Mutas have been very annoying, delaying this by quite a bit, and he's gonna have to make a turret now just to get this going. He's just completely not interested in making Goliaths at all. No Goliaths this game.
Well, I guess there's only like a handful of Mutalisks left, so he's trying to be a little bit stubborn in doing so. Oh, big massive push from Hero. Here comes the Dark Swarm starting to knock on the gates of the Terran player. Has secured this pizza slice ahead of time though. Sark holding the line, keeping control over this mineral only is important, not just because he needs to keep that expansion alive and fresh to take later, but he does need to keep Hero pushed back on the periphery and not encroach too closely to the rally point of the Terran and start to drive wedges between that rally point and that natural third and other bases that the Terran starts to secure soon. Hero rotating around the center now, going to be putting on a lot of pressure to that third base while putting a massive flying defiler drop into the main base. This is a big 1-2 punch from the Zerg, forcing the Terran to split their attention and allocate their resources accordingly. Do you defend the main with most of your forces, or do you go to intercept this Hydra force that's flanking around the side? He's going to try and snipe this CC. 2 tanks moving into position on the high ground to try and shut this down, and a building built to try and block that. Hydra's surging forward, trying to get a tactical snipe on those tanks, only killing one of them for the time being. Going to rotate back around the mineral line to start killing some SCVs. He's getting up on the tanks in the A main base, though, really nice 1-2 punch here from Hero, but it's not quite finding the critical damage that he needs to knock Sark out of this game, but it's a big Mutalisk transition, Zan.
This is one of the best ways to continue to abuse the Terran player when things get chaotic. Making this round of Mutas, this might be it, guys. He's going to kill so many tanks with this. Just keeping Sark on the back foot. That was an impressive combination from Hero. The drop, counterattack, plus Mutalisk switch, all one after the other. He gets the golf clap from KCM. That was some excellent versus mech Zerg play. It's a totally different style that you have to adapt to. As the Zerg player, it's so different from playing against Medic and Marine, but this guy really seems to have mastered it.
Yeah, he definitely seems to have figured out a few of those intricacies. And maybe he can keep, ironing that out and becoming more and more proficient in that style. Not a lot of Terrans play that way, so these Zergs don't get a lot of practice against something like that. Most of the Zergs won't have good answers. Someone like Hero and Sulky, they're going to be much more adept at thwarting it, not so much these other Zergs. So Sark could make a name for himself yet again in the scene. If he keeps playing like this, he might pick up some wins on the board in the future against some of these lower ranking Zergs.
Wow, I'm shocked. Royal is going to be brought back here with the revive. They've only got one, and they've used it here to bring back our Terran player in the top right. Of course, Hero down here in the bottom left. Polestar is our map for set 7. With tournament life on the line, quite a bit of prize money, and of course, that pride as well. Is Royal going to be able? Is Royal the one to bring it back? Is he the one to run it back here against Hero, Jaedong, and the revive from the Zerg squad?
I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, Royal's a pretty good TVZ player. He did win an ASL in Season 14, taking out Russia in the finals. He's certainly a capable player, but we haven't seen high levels of consistency or particularly exceedingly good caliber of play out of him for quite some time. So maybe a teeny tiny bit of a questionable revive here. But I mean, he has got a bit of pedigree to him. Maybe these guys are confident in him kind of taking the role of their senior, maybe with slightly more experience under his belt in times past. I guess it wasn't that long ago. That's coming up to about just over 2.5, it's a bit over 2.5 years ago, he won that title. He's fallen a little bit out of fashion since then, but who knows? Maybe he can do a lot of heavy lifting for this Terran squad and carry the torch forward. He's got a lot of players to eliminate, though. He's got to go through Hero and then either Jaedong or Sulky revive. It's going to be an uphill battle for Royal no matter what happens, but maybe he can find his tempo and mojo and make it happen.
Not opening up CC first this time. Royal. Gonna get that 1 Rax fast expand rolling here, and should be safe hiding behind this wall. Does manage to get the SCV into the main. We'll see the timing on this layer as well. Looking like a bit of a later layer timing. Probably a 12 gas. That's been taken by Hero here, and he's going to get that just after the 3-minute mark to really optimize his larva and get ready for kind of a later Mutalisk timing. Ooh, engineering bay here from Royal. So, +1, probably 4 racks follow-up from Royal. Gives you a lot of power in the mid-game, but it's pretty cookie-cutter when it comes to TVZ.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of Terran players are going for this style these days. Zergs have just gotten so good over the years with their Mutalisk control. You kind of need 4 barracks to come out onto the map and challenge the Zerg, and with some good micro of that drone, Hero getting rid of that scouting SCV pretty quickly. I mean, it's not so quick to be worried about a 2-hatch lurker play or something like that. If that SCV died like another 5-10 seconds quicker, he'd be a little bit more skeptical that could have been a lurker play opening from Hero, but it's more or less on schedule to still being Mutalisks unless he threw down the den in the natural. So he probably will still expect this to be a 2.5 hatch Mutalisk play, even though the SCV scout technically went down ahead of schedule here. And with the cross map, I imagine that Hero will be on a little bit of the greedier side and not necessarily do non-stop Mutalisk production. I imagine he'll squeeze out a couple of more drones than is usual, unless this was going to be like a horizontal spawns or something. He has no real need to go hyper-aggressive mode.
Yeah, losing that early SCV, it's a little bit frustrating for the Terran player. That's what you're really scared of, is having some lurkers run up here. With the wall in and you're going for that +1, you're not going to have range early on, and breaking out of a little lurker contain it's super tough. They're going to get your wall most likely and really slow you down by a lot. The real weakness of this 4 racks very early +1 play is getting into very quick lurker. If you can get lurkers out right away and just kind of block everything that the Terran player is doing, just don't allow them to deal any damage with these early Marines, then a lot of the advantage of going for this style starts to fall away, and the Zerg can power up on drones rather than the constant Mutaling production that's necessary to handle these giant bio balls without the lurker support.
Right. I mean, we got some good scans there from Royal. He does identify exactly what's going down. Doesn't yet see anything like an Evo chamber, but to be honest with you, Evo chamber doesn't go down now, even with Crazy Zerg. Usually you're putting the Evo chamber down about this kind of timing, so he wouldn't have identified that either way, but he at least sees that there's Mutalisks on the way, and he can guarantee that he doesn't have to worry about a lurker timing. And we'll have to wait and see how many mutas Hero wants to make here. He'll at least go up to 7. It's just a matter of, like, does he make non-stop Mutalisk production with all of his hatcheries and squeeze out only a couple of drones, or does he try and be a little bit greedier and pop out a few extra drones here? Hero's capable of doing both styles. There's actually an armor first here from Hero. Some links trying to get into the main base to complicate things for Royal, causing a little bit of a headache. He has got some Marines moving over to clean up those Zerglings, but forcing this task switching can be a little bit of a thorn in the side of a Terran player at this point in the game. He does clean it up pretty cleanly, and he also was actively pushing with this bio in the center of the board, so Royal kind of dotting his I's, crossing his T's for the time being. Needs to be careful, though, not to allow Hero to outmaneuver him. Hero is very adept at pulling Terrans apart in this early to mid-game transitional point. Even though he is a very strong macro player, his unit control is almost second to none. And he will rip through this bio ball with some good micro if Royal's not careful. He's trying to reinforce it now with a few additional Marines.
One single Marine makes its way to the bottom. I just want to clarify as well, the Marines here for Royal are the ones with the +1. Oh, the split going around the side here. Looks like Hero can't quite capitalize, but a hell more Marines coming down through the bottom side. That doodad there, that little pillar, really driving a wedge between these two sides of Royal's force and causes him quite a bit of grief. He's going to have that +1 attack coming online here pretty soon, but Hero's already managed to drive him back pretty far on the map and has a setup here to potentially just wipe out this Marine medic force. If he gets the cleanup here, at this timing, he'll easily be able to transition into Lurker and have a very good spot going into this late game.
Yeah, Hero thinks that Royal is overdue a haircut. He's about to start lining him up with a lot of mutiling right now. Just as he starts to come to this high ground transition, Hero has so many forces waiting for him, although he's tuck-tailing and withdrawing those forces for the time being. He sees that there's a pretty sizable fire blob here. Needs to make sure his pincer is almost flawless to guarantee a good trade against the Terran player. Probably going to want to shave off a little bit with his Clipper units before going in for the Razor lineup. But I mean, so far so good for our Zerg player. Here comes some good high-value trades. He's going to remain active with this mutiling and wait for one small mistake or misstep from our Terran player and try and capitalize on it. He only actually has to pull the trigger on that when he's out of position. He's out of position slightly here. Hero goes for it, and unfortunately for Royal, it looks like it was not quite a Sweeney Todd Barber that he got, but ample enough to shave off the majority of those forces, and now looking to intercept more of those reinforcements.
Yeah, that looked like it was going a lot better at the beginning of the fight, but it seems like Royal's split forces actually worked to his advantage somewhat. Having that kind of bottom ball of Marines pretty well surrounded by medics allowed him to stand strong there and barely win that fight. These fights are so swingy and they can go either way so quickly. Sometimes it looks like one side is winning and then the other side just completely dominates. As soon as you start to run out of DPS on either side, the other can just tear you to pieces. Now, Lurkers have spawned. They are on top of that high ground. And so Hero has avoided catastrophe at the very least. Not able to completely wipe out this Bile Ball, but he's not going to get broken here in the bottom right, at least not yet.
Yeah. He did delay making these Lurkers for a really long time, so that mutiling essentially accomplished the goal it was trying to in the first place. You can see the egg block as well as the two finished Lurkers makes this almost impossible to break, although we can start to gun down those eggs from a distance and hope for the best here. Hero might feel forced to engage with his muters as soon as those eggs hatch. But it doesn't quite kill the second Lurker, actually. Oh, a massive pincer maneuver from behind with those Lurkers as well. In a little bit of trouble now is Royal. This army is kind of isolated in this pocket now. More and more reinforcements are making their way down to try and save the day. But there's a little bit of a clock on these forces. Royal has to wrap around from both sides and kill these two Lurkers on the north threshold of that setup. He's trying to bait Royal towards him by unburrowing and reburrowing here. Royal's setting up a potential flank on those Lurkers. He's going to go for it now. Targets fire. Snipe on the vessel, though. Does target down the top two Lurkers first, which is correct. But, I mean, it's still not good enough. Hero gets out with 3 remaining Lurkers, and despite not clearing up that force in the bottom right, the game is still looking pretty good for our Zerg, although with Royal taking his own third base now, we potentially have a real game on our hands, Sam.
I feel like we just watched 2 heavyweight boxers throw overhand rights haymakers at each other and just narrowly miss over and over again. Both players just ducking the massive attacks. Either one could have been a knockout blow. The Lurkers catching these Marines down in that bottom corner, that can absolutely ruin the momentum for the Terran player. And at the same time, the Lurkers getting almost perfectly surrounded there and destroyed would have been a massive loss for Hero, and he may have just been forced to tap out, but they both barely managed to navigate that very difficult, very intricate situation, and it was kind of beautiful to watch and really a very cool and interesting interaction there at the bottom right. But in the end, gets those lurkers up on the high ground. We're going to continue on with this game. No fourth gas just yet in the third base. Plus the double expansion, Royal trying to take a fourth behind this. So he is really ramping up right now, and Hero is still slightly on the back foot, trying to get his feet underneath him before he gets this next base online.
Yeah, it's definitely great maneuvering from both sides. And you know what? Royal is doing everything he needs to do. He's having great ambition right now, getting a fourth base online, got that physics lab completing up, so we can start to make some battle cruisers to put some pressure onto these gas expansions. Equally, Hero's doing what he needs to do, try and establish this critical fourth gas on the low ground here. That's going to be a major point of contention. More and more scans coming out from Royal non-stop to keep track of this Zerg, and he's got a pretty sizable fleet of vessels, you know. I mean, this is looking pretty okay for all. He just lost a vessel there to some Scourge, but he's got enough vessels banked up that, you know, he can keep churning those irradiates out over time and keep a lot of production time available to squeeze out some of these battle cruiser units, and even additional factories starting to be produced now. We could be seeing a rather spectacular TVZ game. Even if Royal somehow does lose this is going to be a great climax to the evening.
For sure. It seems like Royal has realized now that it's full-on Hydralisk Defiler coming his way. Battlecruiser is traditionally not the right answer to the Hydralisk Defiler. Just throwing down Dark Swarm and having a couple of Hydras can completely shut down a very expensive battlecruiser, but it seems like he might still want to build that. Okay, nice snipe there on that vessel. 3 lurkers in a stack here. It's not going to be enough. A lot of Marines targeting down all of this stuff, and the Hydras are just arriving at the last moment. Oh, there's too many fire bats underneath here. He is going to be able to push this back.
Wow, he's going to kill this hatchery, I think. You know what? I think that Royal's done it. I think if Royal kills this hatchery, he's got his own fourth base online. He just has to trade well now with that amount of vessels available to him. I mean, he's kind of aligned to win this game now. I mean, don't get me wrong, Hero definitely can make a game of it still, but this is like stars aligning stuff right now for our Terran player. This is a great start to the comeback of the Terran squad, if ever there was one. And underneath these Dark Swarms, the Firebats can reign supreme if there's a little trickle of heal from those medics. One lurker does still struggle to kill them. Eventually they will clean out that Firebat medic combo, but they can be a little bit of a problem for the Zerg to clean up efficiently. Hero buying some time desperately with these lurker egg walls while he cycles over a lot of units from his rally point to that Nidus Scan. That's a beautiful plague on the fleet of vessels. Hero trying to fight back strong in this game.
That's the first step. Get that plague on the vessel, start to lower that count. Still, Hero needs another base. Probably best to take one over at that natural if he can get it online. He stands a much better chance of winning this game. Lurkers managed to make it under this Dark Swarm, and with the 2 of them here, oh my gosh, he still manages to kill them both with pure Firebat. You've got to be kidding me. Delaying this 4th base by so much.
I mean, that's exactly why Firebats are in the meta right now. We've been talking about it for many years, that this is basically what Terran players need to do more against the Zergs in this super late phase, especially against Hydralisk Defiler, where you don't have a critical mass of lurkers, usually just 1 or 2 under a Dark Swarm. And you know what? Some Firebats, especially with a D-Matrix, has a strong chance at dislodging those defensive positions. And Royal's done exactly that. He's also shutting down the expansion attempt at a natural 3rd location on the southwest quadrant of the map as well. Looks like Hero surging forward, going to be establishing a lot more oxygen to maneuver in this bottom right pocket to kind of guarantee getting this 4th base online, and, you know, defend by attacking right now by shoving back this force of Royal as much as possible, sniping some tanks in his wake as he goes as well. But I mean, this is still a commanding position for Royal. He's got the top left base established now. If he gets some SCVs mining up there too, I mean, the sky's the limit for our Terran player. If he starts getting some battle crew cruisers out here eventually. He won't want necessarily many of them because, like you say, Hydras with Dark Swarm really cost efficient at shutting that down. But he can still make a couple here and there to threaten some of these gas expansions once they come online for Hero. And if he does predominantly rely on Plague to fight against those battle cruisers, you can use Restoration from the medics to keep them up and fresh HP.
I mean, once you're at this level of advantage, going for battle cruisers is fine. He's gonna lose a few of these vessels, but he's still got so many irradiates here, and the tank push is kind of undeniable. How do you stop this? That's so many tanks at this point, with the Hero just barely trickling out units. It's possible to hold back the bio, but this many tanks will eventually grind you down. And GG is called Royal, bringing it back, taking out the second to last Zerg player in this lineup. We are going to see all 4 Zerg players take the stage. Jaedong is coming up next. All right, Jaedong over here at the top right-hand corner. We got Royal in the bottom left. Very well-played game there. I can see why they decided to bring him out. From that first game, you wouldn't expect him to get that revive, but he's certainly looking good now. That game against Hero really showing his ability to macro in the late game, hitting those base timings and just keeping the pressure on non-stop. It's difficult to imagine a comeback when the Terran player is that on top of spending all their money and just putting on the pressure.
Right. And I mean, the game that Royal did look a little flimsy was against Action, which is a University League teammate of his. Maybe Action a little bit more well-versed and stylistically able to counter someone like Royal. And maybe Royal won't have as much of a hard time against players like Hero, Jaedong, and Sogi as he did against Action. They might have played so many practice games together that it's harder for Royal to, you know, pull the wool over Action's eyes, and Action might know exactly what he needs to do to take advantage of someone like Royal. So stylistically, maybe Royal is aligned to dealing with these other Zerg players in a lot more of an efficient fashion. We'll have to see what Lee Jaedong can bring to the table now. He's definitely a fan favorite. Let's see what kind of form he's showing up with today.
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, what kind of Jaedong are we going to get today? We've seen him play like a god, looking like he was poised to go deep in ASL this last season. But we've also seen him kind of fall flat, flop around quite a bit. But yeah, Jaedong playing quite greedy here. He's going to take possibly 3 hatch before gas after scouting initially with this early drone.
And he took the pool at 14 supply as well, saying like this is super greedy and super risky.
Yeah, that is super greedy. He's not going to have a lot of lings here to deal with just a couple of naked Marines walking across the map, though. You'll have to be careful of that threat. And also, I mean, Royal could potentially build a bunker up here. I mean, it sounds crazy, but building a bunker at that third base and just sending the Marines over there is super annoying when you're doing a play like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's only not annoying if you make a more traditional pool timing and you can actually challenge it. But with how delayed this pool has been for Jaedong, it's kind of lucky for him that Royal's not pulling the trigger on something like that. You can see the eggs of Lings just now starting to hatch, but he could have already been over there with a couple of Marines in a bunker and more additional Marines coming across the map. As it stands, though, we're going to be seeing a bit more of a traditional naked Marine move-out timing here from Royal. You're usually hoping that these 4 Marine, 1 SCV combo can challenge some 4 slowlings out on the center of the map. But the thing is that because of how late he took this pool, there was no really aligning of these 4 Marines to do what they would usually do. Like usually the 4 Lings would have already been on their way, and those 4 Marines would have challenged those 4 Lings by now. So the slightly off-meta pool timing from Jaedong has actually thrown Royal off a little bit and taken the sting out of that skill check by moving across the map with those naked Marines that were never intended to go more than halfway across the middle.
I mean, Jaedong getting away with a lot here. He's going to be feeling fantastic. Are we going to get a Hydra Defiler play out of him as well? I think the chances are pretty good. This is Eclipse after all. That ramp is incredibly close to the hatchery, and of course, getting a 4th base online here is tough. You have to reach out pretty far as the Zerg player, getting into that 4th gas and getting ultras out. It's a difficult task, and Terran players are great at making that as hard as possible, and so we may be just seeing Jaedong relenting here, going directly into Hydra Defiler. He may also go for like a big mutalist timing, just keep making mutas. That's also a possibility, but a little bit less likely considering how strong of a spot Royal is in right now. He's going to come out here, pressure, force a bunch of sunken colonies out of Jaedong, and so, you know, 2 sunken colonies at the 3rd, 3 at the natural. That's really going to bite into his economy and force a lot more drone production out of Jaedong and probably a longer game.
Yeah, you start with 3 and 2, and you go up to 4 and 3. Usually you're adding an additional sunken every minute relative to the usual push timings of the Terran. You can see this is more or less a 6-minute push timing from Royal rather than a 5-minute push timing, so he needs, you know, 4 and 3 rather than 3 and 2. And, you know, he's aligned with that quite nicely here against Royal. So Royal doesn't really have any window to punish that. But he is at least keeping Jaedong honest by forcing him to actually finish morphing those Sunkens and not getting away with such crazy greed as he has thus far. But already Jaedong has a pretty sizable economy. He just is technically behind in the tech of this game. And that's a pretty crisply timed factory from Royal to boot, so there will be a tech advantage here from Royal, but a pretty sizable economic lead for Jaedong.
Jaedong going for a crazy fast Queen's Nest there. I thought that was just maybe a building to help block initially the attack, but I mean, he's going for it here. Is he actually going to start that hive right away? Oh my gosh, what is this? 2nd Queen's Nest. Are we crazy?
We're crazy. We are really crazy.
He sees the hive and the morphing Queen's Nest. I think Royal's scratching his head right now.
Nani? Yeah, that's a kind of moment where you don't quite know what you're looking at. That probably should have been an Evo and he just made a mistake. It is what it is, though. These guys are human at the end of the day. Unless they're playing out of their mind, they're going to make crazy mistakes like this. And he does actually cancel it. Yeah, there's the Evo. It was meant to be an Evo, but I guess he was just kind of off his ebb and flow a little bit. And, you know, made a bit of a hiccup there, a bit of a brain fart. I mean, Jaedong is a slightly older gamer these days, certainly not firing on the same amount of cylinders as he once was all those years ago in that Kesper era.
Yeah, there could be just a mistake with the hotkeys as well. I know for myself, oftentimes I'm trying to hit the B key for basic buildings, and then sometimes I hit the V key instead and end up building something that I'm not supposed to. It is nice to have those 2 keys so close to each other, but can occasionally cause problems. Maybe throwing Jaedong off a little bit there. Now flying into this natural, try and pick off a few SCVs with this 8-minute and 20 mutalist timing. He's actually getting more than I expected.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of turrets to cover that. He's got a couple of turrets that are throwing some long bolt missiles out at these mutalisks, but not really enough to challenge the HP resource of those units to stop Jaedong in his tracks from killing quite a few SCVs, although we have got these 2 dropships hopefully making their way to the top side of this map. They're going to be escorted by some forces on the ground to scout out ahead of time, making sure there's no overlords to intercept those, and seeing if they can get a solid attack vector going. Now loading up those dropships. Jaedong doesn't find it. He's being a little bit lazy with his scouting. He has got a pair of Scourge, though, 2 intercepts.
He does find connections on that dropship. It's going to be huge. Does kill one of them. Not quite the second, but it doesn't matter. Eliminating one of those dropships is already a big deal. He can just delay mining a little bit and shuffle these lurkers up.
Yeah, he's going to eventually shuffle these up. Pretty good spread here from Royal, but he doesn't have the secondary scan, the follow-up scan, to help him get rid of that. Oh, the drop's going to go down as well. So this was a huge investment from Royal. He made these dropships before making a single vessel, so this can't be overstated how important it was for Royal to get real damage with that, and he really didn't get much here. So there's a reason why they call them lotto ships, Shun. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Yeah, you spin to win, and sometimes you spin and you do anything but win, and you certainly haven't got a grin on your face saying it just is what it is, you know. And don't gamble, guys, because that will usually happen to you. Royal was basically semi-all in there, and unfortunately for him, not going to be paying off. Does catch those Mutalisks on transit. That's a nice little pickup. We'll be making some vessels now, but he's definitely behind curve, and he had an okay tech advantage initially, but now that's fallen through. I mean, that was a very quick hive and Defiler Mound from Jaedong, and after investing in those dropships, suddenly Jaedong has re-established, you know, himself in the tech world, so to speak. He's the new up-and-coming tech bro that everyone's going to be talking about if this game had anything to do with social media.
Oh man, Lurker Defiler slips through the net. Royal not paying attention to this one lane. Of course, it's Eclipse. There's so many different lanes to deal with. Dark Storm here on the high ground with the Defiler. He's waiting till the last possible second to throw that down. Will he get a big hit with these Lurkers? Not quite. Okay, he instead uses Plague there. Waits till the last second. Uses Plague twice after consuming. Dude, that's such efficient use of Defiler. I love it.
That's really wild stuff from Jaedong, man. He's absolutely insane. Like, he knows those units are dead to irradiate anyway, so he tries to squeeze out a tiny few extra drops. He's a real juicer, guys. Must be an XQC fan or something. I'm going to be making a few factories now. Here's Royal, churning away as many of those vessels as he can. Struggling for gas a little bit, needs to start mining that third gas as soon as possible. Hydra Defiler, though, notorious for being pretty much the most cost-efficient way of playing Zerg versus Terran, so Royal's going to have to trade exceedingly well and not miss a beat with his own macro back at home to keep up with the likes of Lee Jaedong here.
These three mutas on a mission looking for those plagued vessels from earlier, but they've been repaired up at the third base by Royal, who's going to be catching this vessel, making its way over. Does lose one vessel to get that irradiate down, but honestly worth getting rid of that Defiler and preventing the push forward there. Oh my gosh, unfortunately not paying attention to this one Bioforce on the right hand side. That's just meant to hold that high ground there, but easily wiping it out with a quick burrow and a surround with his units. Jaedong opens up another lane of attack, which you can just start sending Defilers down.
Yeah, Nada would have been on top of that, saying I'm looking forward to seeing that guy in the scene once more. I think the expression like Flash would have won might be replaced by Nada would have won, because he's just such a hyper-aggressive Terran that kind of deserves another moment to shine in this era. I hope we see more from him. Here, though, we have Royal switching into that 3-factory tank style, which is pretty efficient against Hydra Defiler, to stay kind of SK Terran with a supplementation of some artillery on the ground by 3 factories non-stop pumping out tanks. Trying to get a flank on this 4th base. Jaedong a little bit out of position, throwing down some desperation Dark Swarms. Luckily for him, there's not too many Firebats to fight those Hydras underneath those orange clouds, but more than enough guns to kill this hatchery, so Royal still accomplishing his goals. There's a nice plague from Jaedong, but I mean, he does shut down
down this fourth base, and suddenly Jaedong might be feeling like he has to get something done on Royal's side of the map. He's going to maybe look for either a counterattack or to intercept and catch the retreat of this army that Royal's now cycling back to the natural fourth.
Ooh, I don't know if Royal knows about this. He's going to catch it now, setting up these tanks. They're a little bit far away, though, from the entrance to this third base. He will get a kill on one of these lurkers as it's running up towards that ramp. Bunch of irradiates go down on these lurkers as well. Just the lings are going to be a problem here on the high ground as the Marines come to help reinforce. SCVs are going to be pulled. A lot of those are going to be going down. So many SCVs are falling here. And so trading out the fourth base with no drones for this third with an insane number of SCVs. It's certainly going in Jaedong's favor. Oh, but I think he's going to save the command center regardless. His command center is so close, 200 HP now. He's targeting it down 100 HP, 50. You've got to be kidding me. He gets that kill on the CC.
That's crazy. Yeah, really wild that he actually was able to finish that off, saying, what are we even watching right now? I mean, this is a crazy end to a wild season of KCM. Jaedong still not quite finished yet. Massive plague on the remnants of Royal's main battle force, trying to desperately hold the line, this wedge position between the rally and the natural third. Tanks move into supporting flank, but unfortunately, they're now exposed to being eliminated by Royal, who can't really stop them from being taken down by those Acid Spines. He's rotating his bioforces up to put pressure on Jaedong's newly established fourth. That's just started to sprout out, but I mean, Jaedong is just being relentless now. Non-stop flooding of units towards this natural third of Royal, trying to hammer in some last nails onto the coffin of not only this Terran player, but his entire squad.
He is so close to taking this one home for the Zerg lineup. They've played so many great series this season of the KCM. They've dominated in that score. That point total has gone their way, and they are just moments away from closing this one out. He's pushing his way right in front of the tanks here. Royal gonna have to unsiege and run. Hydra's gonna come up here to finish the job, killing off a couple more tanks before he can hit that full retreat. Royal gonna be floating out a CC here. He doesn't have an answer for this Defiler on the low ground. Dark Swarm there on the high ground, going to start to push these Marines away, and it's just moments away from clearing this out completely. The three factory tank production just isn't enough here. Jaedong pushing through for the finisher.
Yeah, he's closing out this game for sure. He's limiting the income that Royal can muster from this natural third while getting his own fourth base online. He's at least mining gas from that to supplement his own economy so he can macro on all cylinders and apply a lot of pressure to Royal and stopping him from establishing not only control back over that natural third, but also from securing a fourth after that. Royal spread a little bit too thinly here to accomplish much. Vessels going down out in the field. This is some pretty hopeful maneuvering from Royal, but he's thinking maybe if I just shove it down the middle lane right now, there's a chance that Jaedong doesn't have enough units at his rally points to stop me. So I'm just going to go on a big Hail Mary push and see if I can make something happen and drive a wedge between the rally point and this newly established fourth of Jaedong and try and win that way. I'm not so sure how successful that's going to be. Here comes a massive flank and arc of Hydras onto those forces. Dark Swarm and a massive juicy plague on those bar units as well. And unless you've got Irradiate or Fire Bats, you are not dislodging those lurkers burrowed underneath Dark Swarm, at least until that minute timer is up. And he is just going to tap out. Cool GG, and Jaedong takes it home for the Zerg squad. The Terrans putting up a bit more of a fight than maybe we expected, especially with that bit of an upset from Sark versus Jaedong. When all is said and done, the statistics don't lie, and Zerg are your champions for KCM Season 2 2025.
All right, Shun, what more can we say about this final Zerg takes it away in the end, not at all unexpected with that, what was it, 87% favoritism?
Or 89,
from
81
89,
or something, yeah.
something like that. It was pretty well established that Zerg was supposed to be taking this away. We did, however, get some pretty cool upsets with that sock win. I'm still not completely sold at him, but I see a light at the end of the tunnel for Sock. Maybe there's a way for him to make a comeback in our minds and our hearts here. Just all he needs to do is play a few more great games like that. The mech transition was awesome to watch. I really hope that he dials that in even further and continues to bring that type of play against Zergs in the future.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep my heart open for Sark. I mean, just because I've dissed him in the past doesn't mean I hate the guy or something. He has been very lackluster and underperforming for quite some time, with many throws that we've kind of been face-palming at in recent seasons. But hey, today he beat Sulky and sort of played good against Hero. I don't want to say really played good against Hero, but it was okay. You know, it was a decent showing. So maybe there is, like you say, glimmer at the end, a bit glimmer of light at the end of that tunnel for him. Maybe he can, keep applying fresh coats of paint to his play, not be too phased by the haters like me, and just keep chugging along, figuring out what he's doing wrong, ironing out all of the creases and the kinks in his play. And who knows, he might end up being one of the strongest teched out Terran players that we've got in the scene. And I would love to see it. One of the things I love about StarCraft is I usually make my mind up quite quickly how I feel about people. But one of the things that keeps this game interesting is when something surprises you and catches you off guard. And in a way, I kind of prefer to be wrong in that regard, saying I really like these bizarre things that happen in KCM that we never see coming, and like Sharp going on all kills or what have you. Sark beating Sulky was today's crazy upset. I'm all about it, saying, and keeping things fresh and kind of, subverting expectations in the scriptwriter's room.
It's pure cinema. That's what we're here for, to see these upsets and these stories come together. Sock getting blasted over and over again and then making his comeback and taking down Sulky in the finals. A bit of that retribution story. Still, you were talking about Hero versus Sock. Man, that game, Hero really showed his caliber, I think. I'm looking back on that one in my head. The 3-punch combo of the drop plus the attack into the third with the Mutalist transition. Oh my goodness. It's such a difficult task to pull apart a meching Terran player. Someone who's really good at it can just seem to be everywhere at once, have everything, and just be completely impenetrable with tanks, turrets, those few residual Marines and Goliaths, mines, all that good stuff out on the map. And Sock was doing a great job of keeping map control, as he did against Sulky as well. I think that might have been a really big part of how he was able to take down Sulky. Was just, if you guys go back and look at that game, the mini-map absolutely covered with mines. He had so much map control in the middle with mines everywhere that he was just able to keep a tabs on everything that Sulky was up to and not allow him to do any sort of quick counterattacks. Didn't have to, for example, pull tanks to the third or to the fourth to defend there, and have everything concentrated on breaking Sulky at that moment. And so he was doing a great job with that. It's just beautiful what Hero was able to do to him in that game.
Yeah, I think Hero studied that game a little bit and decided, hang on a minute, I can't let Sark, even though he's not necessarily the best player, get into that kind of position where he's just splitting the map and mining everywhere. It's a little bit awkward to play against. I'm probably better off delaying the third as long as possible, and taking any initiative when map control is lost. And we saw map control be conceded to Hero when Sark went for that drop into the main base, tried to get a snipe on the Evo chamber, and was unsuccessful in doing so. Definitely opened up the map for Hero to start to apply pressure and start to think about attack vectors and kind of, queuing up an attack combo, almost like a fighting game, trying to figure out how to deal the optimal amount of damage that's unblockable in a shortest space of time possible. And Hero found that magical combo that was essentially unblockable from Zerg.
Yeah, you really do need the Marines as backup. Sending them into the main seemed like a good use at the time, but they weren't able to get the damage that they were looking for. Let's say things could have been so much different if potentially he had sniped that building. If he was able to get a few more kills there in the main, he could have snowballed things. But Hero saw those Marines go down, and he saw an opening that he couldn't resist. That lack of anti-air, he was able to get a lot of damage with the mutas over at the third, and then the transition. Just beautiful play out of him, and really beautiful play out of most of our lineup. The Zergs put on a great show. The Terrans put on a great show as well. We couldn't ask for more here, Shun, with Jaedong clutching things out. The championship goes over to Zerg, but Season 3 is right around the corner.
Yeah, and we probably have no idea what's going to happen in that season, just like we had a hard time figuring out what was going to happen in this one. That's kind of one of the best things about KCM, is it always keeps us guessing. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in each week. This is, the thing that brought Sane and I together initially a few years ago, and I'm sure I speak for us both where I say it's a real privilege and a treat to bring you guys these games and casts each week, and we will continue to do that for the foreseeable future. And we can't wait. Probably, I'm speaking for you a little bit here for saying, but I personally can't wait to get ahead of things and get right into Season 3 here.
It's always, well, maybe not always, but it's usually the best seasons right before the ASL starts up. We're going to be starting here soon at the end of August, so that's around the time when we'll be hitting kind of the midpoint of Season 3, which is very exciting. We'll be going into ASL with everybody charging up, everybody practicing at their peak potential and getting ready for that biggest of tournaments, putting out great games and giving us something amazing to watch, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and if you can, of course, donate to the Patreon. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Thanks, guys.